Commander Marcus Daniels adjusted his dress uniform one final time before the ceremony. After 15 years in the International Space Fleet, he never imagined he'd be representing humanity at a diplomatic reception with the Astrari, the first intelligent extraterrestrial species to make contact with Earth. "Stop fidgeting," Admiral Patel whispered beside him. "Remember, this alliance could change humanity's future forever." "No pressure," Marcus muttered, scanning the crystalline architecture of the orbital station where the reception was being held. The Astrari had arrived 6 months ago, their massive ship appearing near Jupiter's orbit with a message of peace. Initial communications had been promising. They offered advanced technology in exchange for cultural exchange and resources only abundant on Earth. Tonight marked the formal beginning of alliance negotiations. The Astrari delegation entered, their tall, graceful forms moving with fluid precision. Their iridescent skin shimmered under the lights, patterns shifting across their bodies in what Marcus had learned was a form of emotional expression. Leading them was Ambassador Thalia, her status indicated by the elaborate silver circlet adorning her crest. Unlike some of her more intimidating companions, Thalia's features held a curious gentleness. Her large, violet eyes studied the humans with unmistakable intelligence, and when she spoke, her translator conveyed a melodic quality to her words. "We welcome our Earth kin to this historic gathering," she announced. "May this night begin an era of mutual prosperity between our worlds." The formal introductions proceeded slowly. When Marcus's turn came, he stepped forward and bowed as instructed. "Commander Marcus Daniels, astrophysics specialist and cultural liaison," he said, meeting Thalia's gaze. Her skin rippled with blue patterns, curiosity, according to his briefing materials. "You study the stars, yet you've never left your solar system until recently." "Some would say I'm making up for lost time," Marcus replied with a smile. A shimmer of gold, amusement crossed her features. A worthy aspiration. As they conversed, Marcus found himself relaxing. Despite her alien appearance, Thalia's intellectual curiosity reminded him of his colleagues at the Space Academy. When the conversation turned to stellar navigation, he impulsively reached into his pocket. "I brought something that might interest you," he said, retrieving a small box. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet with a compass rose design, a gift from his late grandmother who had encouraged his love of space. "On Earth, navigators once used tools like this to find their way. It's a personal token, but I'd be honored if you'd accept it as a symbol of finding our way forward together." The room fell silent. Thalia's skin rippled with intense purple patterns as she stared at the bracelet. Behind her, several Astrari made sounds their translators didn't catch. "You offer this freely?" she asked, her voice unusually formal. "Of course," Marcus replied, puzzled by the reaction. With ceremonial slowness, Thalia extended her slender hand. As Marcus placed the bracelet on her palm, she clasped his hand firmly. "I accept your proposal, Commander Marcus Daniels of Earth," she announced loudly. "May our union bring strength to both our peoples." Marcus froze, suddenly aware that something significant had just happened. Admiral Patel's sharp intake of breath confirmed his suspicion. "Congratulations," an Astrari official said, approaching them. "The ambassador's acceptance of your bonding offer is a powerful statement of faith in our alliance. The engagement ceremony will commence immediately." Marcus's mouth went dry as Thalia's violet eyes met his. Within them he saw not just diplomatic calculation, but something more personal, hope, perhaps, or anticipation. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "but what exactly did I just do?" Thalia's skin shimmered with a pattern he hadn't seen before. "You have asked me to be your life partner, and I have accepted. Is this not what you intended with your ceremonial offering?" Before Marcus could respond, they were surrounded by celebrating Astrari and stunned humans, and he realized his simple gift had just changed both their lives forever. "Ambassador Thalia insists that you participate in the Dawn Harmony ritual tomorrow," Admiral Patel informed Marcus 3 days after the engagement. "Apparently, it's traditional for newly bonded couples." Marcus looked up from the stack of cultural briefing materials he'd been frantically studying since his accidental proposal. "What exactly does this ritual entail?" "That's the problem," Patel sighed. "The Astrari won't tell us. They say it's sacred knowledge reserved for bonded partners." "Perfect," Marcus muttered. He rubbed his eyes, exhausted from late nights trying to understand Astrari customs. The more he learned, the more he realized how utterly complex their society was, layers of meaning behind every gesture, color change, and vocalization. "Look on the bright side," Patel said with a wry smile. "Your engagement has accelerated negotiations. The Astrari Council is already discussing sharing their quantum displacement technology with us." Marcus nodded absently. The political implications of his engagement had grown more significant by the day. News of the first human-Astrari union had spread throughout both fleets, becoming a symbol of the alliance's potential. "Just don't do anything to jeopardize it," Patel added, her tone serious again. "At least not until after the technology exchange is finalized." "No pressure," Marcus echoed their earlier conversation. After Patel left, Marcus returned to his quarters to find Thalia waiting for him. Since their engagement, they'd been assigned shared diplomatic accommodations, though thankfully with separate sleeping chambers. The Astrari, it seemed, had some concept of privacy despite their communal nature. Thalia's skin was cycling through shades of blue and lavender, a pattern Marcus had come to recognize as anticipation. "Marcus," she greeted him, rising from where she'd been sitting cross-legged on a meditation cushion. "I thought we might prepare for tomorrow's ritual together." His pulse quickened at the sight of her. Despite their unusual circumstances, he found himself increasingly drawn to her alien grace. She wore a form-fitting garment that accentuated her slender frame, the fabric shimmering with the same iridescence as her skin. "About that," he began cautiously, "no one will tell me what this ritual involves." Thalia's eyes crinkled at the corners, her version of a smile. "It is intimate knowledge not to be shared with outsiders," she approached him slowly. "But you are no longer an outsider, are you?" The way she said intimate sent an unexpected shiver through him. "I suppose not." "The dawn harmony is about connection," she explained, stopping just in front of him. "About learning to attune one's energies to one's partner." Her hand reached for his, fingers intertwining with practiced ease. "It requires physical proximity." "How physical?" Marcus asked, suddenly aware of how close she stood. "Nothing inappropriate for betrothed partners," she assured him, though her skin flushed with rosy patterns that suggested there was more to it than she was saying. "But it will require touch. Is this acceptable to you?" He nodded, finding his mouth suddenly dry. "Good," she whispered. "We should practice." Before he could respond, she guided his hand to the side of her face. Her skin felt warmer than before, almost feverish beneath his fingertips. A soft vibration hummed beneath the surface. "Feel my resonance," she instructed. "Tomorrow you must match it with your own." "I don't think humans have resonance," he said uncertainly. "All living beings have energy," she corrected. "You merely need to become conscious of yours." Her other hand came to rest against his chest, directly over his heart. "Here, focus here." As her palm pressed against him, Marcus felt a strange warmth spreading through his body. His heartbeat accelerated, and he had the bizarre sensation that it was somehow synchronizing with the vibrations emanating from Thalia. "That's unusual," he murmured. "It is the beginning of harmony," she said, her violet eyes holding his. The patterns on her skin shifted to deep purple, swirling in hypnotic waves. For Astrari, this connection is the foundation of all intimate relationships. Marcus suddenly understood the implications. This ritual, it's more than just ceremonial, isn't it? "It is how we begin to form the neurological bond that will eventually join us," she confirmed. "The physical manifestation comes later, but this is the first step." "Neurological bond," he echoed, alarmed. "You didn't mention anything about a literal bond between our minds." Thalia tilted her head, confusion evident in her expression. "Is this not how your species forms permanent partnerships, through progressive neurological integration?" "No," Marcus said firmly, stepping back. "Our marriages are emotional and legal commitments, but our minds remain separate." Her skin pulsed with rapid yellow flashes, surprise, possibly concern. "How do you truly know one another, then?" "We talk," Marcus said. "We spend time together, we trust." "Fascinating," she whispered, studying him with renewed interest. "So different from our ways." After a moment's contemplation, she added, "The initial harmony ritual will not form any permanent connection without further ceremonies. It merely opens the possibility." Marcus hesitated. The rational part of his mind warned of unknown consequences, but another part, the part that had driven him to explore space in the first place, was intrigued. "What would I need to do?" he asked finally. Relief washed over Thalia's features. "Simply follow my movements tomorrow. I will guide you." She reached for his hand again. "For now, let me teach you about the significance of each tone and color you will experience." They spent hours together, Thalia demonstrating different vibrations and explaining what each meant in Astrari culture. Despite his initial anxiety, Marcus found himself captivated by the complexity of her species' communication. The subtle gradations of color conveyed emotional nuances human languages struggled to express. Later that night, as Thalia departed for her chamber, she paused at the threshold. "Marcus," she said softly, "thank you for your willingness to learn our ways." "I'm trying," he admitted, "though I feel completely out of my depth." Her skin rippled with a gentle gold pattern he now recognized as affection. "Perhaps that is why the stars brought us together, both navigators, both exploring unknown territories." She touched the bracelet on her wrist. "Rest well. Tomorrow will be illuminating." As she disappeared behind the sliding door, Marcus collapsed onto his bed, mind racing. What had started as a diplomatic misunderstanding was becoming something far more complex, and potentially far more intimate than he had imagined. He thought of her touch, the strange warmth it had awakened in him, and wondered what other surprises awaited in the dawn harmony ritual. Despite his apprehension, he realized he was looking forward to finding out. The dawn harmony ritual changed everything between them. In the sacred chamber beneath the Astrari ship, surrounded by bioluminescent crystals and humming energy fields, Marcus had surrendered to Thalia's guidance. Their bodies moved in synchrony, her iridescent skin pulsing against his as she taught him to channel what the Astrari called life resonance. For hours they danced, touched, and breathed together until Marcus felt something unlock within him, a sensitivity to energy he'd never known existed. When their foreheads finally pressed together in the ritual's culmination, he'd felt a momentary connection beyond words, not mind-reading, but a profound sense of her presence, her essence. 2 weeks later, the memory still made his skin tingle. "You're distracted again," Dr. Eliza Wung observed as they reviewed the latest technological schematics from the Astrari engineers. "Let me guess, thinking about the ambassador." Marcus felt heat rise to his face. "The quantum displacement drive is revolutionary, Eliza. It could change everything about how we travel through space." "Uh-huh," she smirked. "And that's definitely why you've been staring at the same equation for 5 minutes with that dreamy look." He couldn't deny it. Since the ritual, he found himself constantly thinking about Thalia. Their diplomatic duties had kept them busy, but every stolen moment together felt charged with new energy. "It's complicated," he admitted. "Falling for your accidental fiancé?" Wung shook her head. "Only you, Daniels." Later that evening, Marcus returned to their shared quarters to find Thalia waiting with an unexpected proposal. "I wish to visit Earth," she announced, her skin shimmering with excited blues and purples. "The High Council has approved a diplomatic tour, and I want you to show me your world." The thought of bringing Thalia to Earth both thrilled and terrified him. "When would we leave?" "Tomorrow," she said. "A small vessel has been prepared for us." The journey to Earth took 3 days, the shortest interplanetary trip in human history thanks to Astrari technology. They spent the time in close quarters, giving Marcus his first opportunity to observe Thalia away from diplomatic duties. He discovered she had a keen sense of humor, laughing, a musical trilling sound, at his stories of academy misadventures. She was insatiably curious, asking endless questions about Earth's cultures and ecosystems. But most surprisingly, she was affectionate, casually touching his arm or shoulder in ways that sent electricity through his body. "Your world is even more beautiful than the transmissions suggested," Thalia murmured as they entered Earth's atmosphere, her face pressed to the viewport. Marcus watched her instead of the view, mesmerized by the wonder in her expression. "Wait until you see it up close." He took her to his childhood home in New Zealand first, a small cottage overlooking the ocean. Away from prying eyes and diplomatic pressures, they walked barefoot along the beach, Thalia's skin shimmering with delight as waves washed over her feet. "The water responds to my bioelectric field," she explained, showing him how the phosphorescence in the waves glowed brighter around her touch. Your oceans feel alive. That night, seated before a bonfire on the beach, Marcus taught her about toasting marshmallows while she taught him more about Astrari culture. In traditional bonds, she explained, partners share consciousness progressively over years until they can sense each other across vast distances. That sounds intense, Marcus said. It is, she admitted, but beautiful too, to truly know another being. Her voice trailed off as she gazed at the stars. And is that what you want? He asked carefully. To share consciousness with someone. Her violet eyes met his. I once thought it was the only way to truly connect. Now I'm not so certain. She moved closer, her shoulder touching his. Your human way of connection has unexpected depth. The fire illuminated the changing patterns on her skin, waves of deep purple and gold that he now recognized as signs of attraction and affection. His heart raced as her hand found his in the sand. The harmony ritual, she said softly. Did you feel it too, the moment our energies aligned? Yes, he whispered. It was like nothing I've ever experienced. Her face drew closer to his. There are many experiences we might share if you're willing. Marcus hesitated only a moment before leaning forward. Their lips met tentatively at first, her skin surprisingly warm and soft against his. As they deepened the kiss, a tingling sensation spread through his body, as though the resonance they'd established during the ritual had suddenly amplified. When they finally parted, Thalia's skin was pulsing with brilliant patterns he'd never seen before. That was, she breathed, a diplomatic success, Marcus suggested with a smile. Her laughter rang out across the beach. Indeed, Commander Daniels, though perhaps we should conduct further negotiations. As they kissed again under Earth's moon and stars, Marcus realized their accidental engagement had become something neither of them had anticipated. Something genuine, precious, and increasingly real. Their idyllic retreat to Earth couldn't last forever. After 2 weeks of showing Thalia the planet's natural wonders, from the crystalline waters of the Maldives to the sweeping majesty of the Himalayas, reality intruded in the form of Admiral Patel's urgent transmission. Return to orbital station immediately, her message read. Complications with negotiations, your presence required. Back aboard the station, the atmosphere was noticeably tense. The easy camaraderie that had developed between human and Astrari personnel had cooled. Wary glances followed Marcus and Thalia as they made their way to the diplomatic sector. Something's wrong, Marcus murmured to Thalia. Her skin had dimmed to a muted gray, a sign of concern he'd learned to recognize. Yes, she whispered, I sense discord. Admiral Patel and the Astrari High Counselor Vexer awaited them in the conference chamber. Vexer, Thalia's stern-faced father, greeted them with a formal bow, his skin cycling through restrained patterns of deep indigo. Ambassador, Commander, Patel's voice was tight. Thank you for returning promptly. What's happened? Thalia asked, straightening into her formal diplomatic posture. Vexer activated a holographic display showing what appeared to be intercepted communications. We have received disturbing intelligence, he said, his translator struggling to convey nuance. Regarding the nature of your bonding. Marcus's stomach dropped. He glanced at Thalia, whose skin had gone completely still, a sign of extreme alarm. These communications, Vexer continued, suggest your engagement was not intentional, but rather the result of a cultural misunderstanding. Where did this intelligence come from? Marcus asked, fighting to keep his voice steady. Kashmir faction, Patel said grimly. The separatist group opposed to Earth-Astrari relations has infiltrated both our communications. Marcus had heard of the Kashmir faction, extremists who believed contact with other species would dilute Astrari purity. They had been a persistent thorn in the Alliance's side. Is this true? Vexer demanded, turning to Thalia. Was your bonding merely a diplomatic convenience? The chamber fell silent. Marcus watched as patterns of distress flickered across Thalia's skin. She was caught between honesty and duty. It began that way, she admitted finally, her voice soft but firm. Commander Daniels was unaware of our bonding customs when he presented the navigational token. Murmurs erupted among the Astrari officials. Vexer's skin darkened ominously. Then the bonding is invalid, he declared. A sacred tradition treated as a political expedient. Father, Thalia began, but Vexer cut her off with a sharp gesture. The quantum displacement technology exchange must be reconsidered, he announced. If this partnership was built on deception, how can we trust any agreements made under its influence? Counselor Vexer, Patel interjected, I assure you there was no intentional deception. Yes, the initial engagement was unexpected, but Commander Daniels has honored all traditional obligations since. A performance, another Astrari official interrupted. Meaningless gestures without understanding. Marcus felt a flare of indignation. With all due respect, he said, stepping forward, I may not have understood at first, but I've committed myself to learning your ways. I participated in the Dawn Harmony with complete sincerity. The Dawn Harmony? Vexer's patterns shifted to shock. He turned to Thalia. You performed the sacred ritual with him, knowing he did not truly choose you. Thalia's chin raised defiantly. He chose to participate with full awareness of its significance. This is outrageous, declared Merritt, a senior Astrari diplomat. The faction was right. Humans are manipulating our customs for technological gain. The meeting dissolved into chaos, accusations and defenses flying between both sides. Marcus could see years of careful diplomacy unraveling before his eyes. Across the room, Patel gave him a desperate look. The message was clear. Fix this. Enough, Marcus's voice cut through the clamor. All eyes turned to him as he moved to stand beside Thalia. Yes, our engagement began with a misunderstanding, he admitted, but what matters is what it's become. He reached for Thalia's hand, relieved when her fingers interlaced with his. Ambassador Thalia has honored me by sharing her culture, her traditions, and herself, he continued. What began in confusion has grown into something real, at least for me. He turned to face her directly, no longer speaking to the officials. I didn't know what I was asking when I gave you that bracelet, but if I had understood, if I had known you then as I know you now, I would have offered it anyway. Thalia's skin began to pulse with waves of gold and violet, emotions too complex for his limited understanding of Astrari expressions. Is this true? She whispered, her voice barely audible. Completely, he replied. I think I've been falling for you since the moment you accepted my grandmother's bracelet. For a long moment, the chamber was utterly silent. Then Thalia turned to address her father and the assembled officials. The beginning was unintentional, she acknowledged, but Marcus speaks the truth about what has grown between us. She raised her wrist, displaying the silver bracelet. I wear this not from duty but from choice. This changes nothing, Merritt insisted. The faction's allegations remain. The faction seeks to destroy what they fear, Thalia interrupted. And they fear this precisely because it is powerful, because it represents the best of what our alliance could be. Vexer studied them intently, his skin gradually shifting from angry reds to more contemplative blues. You claim this bonding has become genuine? He asked Marcus. Yes, Marcus replied firmly. Though I still have much to learn about your customs, my feelings for your daughter are real. Vexer turned to Patel. And the technological exchange, would Earth still honor these arrangements if the bonding were dissolved? Marcus felt Thalia tense beside him. The question laid the choice bare, the alliance or their relationship. The United Earth government values the alliance for its own merits, Patel said diplomatically. But speaking personally, I believe breaking this bond would be a mistake, not just diplomatically, but for them. Vexer considered this, then addressed his daughter. Thalia, the choice must be yours. Will you continue this unconventional bond, knowing its origins, or release the human from obligations he did not knowingly accept? In the breathless silence that followed, Marcus realized he was afraid of her answer. What had begun as diplomatic necessity had somehow become essential to his happiness. The thought of losing her made his chest ache. Thalia's gaze met his, her violet eyes searching. In that moment, with the fate of their relationship and possibly the alliance hanging in the balance, she smiled, a human gesture she had adopted for him, and her skin bloomed with the unmistakable golden patterns of absolute certainty. I choose him, she said simply. I choose us. The room erupted again, but this time with a mixture of shock, approval, and confusion. Through it all, Marcus held Thalia's gaze, his heart pounding with the realization that their pretense had transformed into the most genuine thing in his life. In the privacy of their quarters later, as the diplomats continued heated discussions about salvaging the negotiations, Thalia leaned against him. "Did you mean what you said?" she asked softly. "About offering the bracelet even if you had understood?" Marcus pulled her closer, feeling the now familiar resonance between them, that strange, wonderful energy that seemed to flow between their bodies whenever they touched. "Absolutely," he whispered against her crest, "though I might have practiced the proposal a bit more." Her musical laughter vibrated against his chest. "It was perfect in its way," she said. "Sometimes the universe navigates better than we could ourselves." As they stood together at the viewport, watching the stars, Marcus realized they had indeed found their way to something neither could have charted alone. The first official human astrari binding ceremony took place 6 months after the crisis. By then, the Kashmir faction's attempt to drive a wedge between the species had backfired spectacularly. The story of an accidental engagement that blossomed into genuine love had captured imaginations across both worlds. Marcus stood in the ceremonial chamber aboard the Astrari flagship, dressed in a hybrid outfit that blended his fleet formal uniform with traditional Astrari bonding attire. Iridescent fabric draped across his shoulders, pulsing gently with embedded bioluminescence programmed to mirror his heartbeat. "Nervous?" Dr. Wung asked, adjusting his ceremonial sash. "Terrified," Marcus admitted. "What if I mispronounce the ancient vows? What if I accidentally insult her entire lineage?" "Then she'll probably still love you," Wung laughed, "just like she did when you accidentally proposed to her." The chamber doors slid open, and Admiral Patel entered. Since the crisis, she'd become an unexpected ally in bridging cultural gaps. "It's time," she said. "The Astrari dignitaries are assembled, and our delegation is in place." She paused, studying him. "You know, when I told you not to do anything to jeopardize the alliance, this isn't exactly what I had in mind." "Sorry to disappoint," Marcus grinned. "On the contrary," Patel replied with unexpected warmth. "You've accomplished more than our best diplomats could have dreamed." She handed him a small velvet box. "Your grandmother's compass rose served its purpose. Perhaps this will continue the journey." Inside was a pair of matching rings, crafted from an alloy of earth platinum and luminescent Astrari crystal. The inscribed patterns would glow with the unique resonance signature they'd established during the Dawn Harmony ritual. "Thank you," Marcus whispered, genuinely moved. "Don't thank me yet," Patel smirked. "Wait until you hear the speech I'm giving at the reception." The ceremony itself was unlike anything humans had witnessed before. The massive chamber had been transformed into a living stellar map, with floating light points representing significant navigational markers from both their worlds. Marcus took his position at the center of the chamber, where a spiral of light began at his feet, winding outward to connect with the assembled witnesses. Soft music, a collaboration between human and Astrari composers, filled the air with harmonies that seemed to vibrate at a cellular level. When Thalia entered, Marcus momentarily forgot to breathe. She glided toward him, her iridescent skin uncovered by garments in the Astrari tradition, patterns flowing across her form in waves of gold, violet, and a deep, pulsing blue that he had come to learn signified profound love. The only adornment she wore was his grandmother's bracelet and a circlet of woven starlight across her crest. As she approached, the patterns on his ceremonial robes began to synchronize with her skin, creating a visual representation of their resonance. The assembled guests murmured in appreciation. "You are beautiful," he said softly, as she took her place across from him in the spiral. "As are you, my unexpected navigator," she replied, her violet eyes bright with emotion. High Counselor Vexer, now a cautious supporter of their union, stepped forward to officiate. His deep voice resonated through the chamber as he spoke of journeys, of cosmic coincidences, and of finding one's path among the stars. When the time came for their vows, Marcus spoke first in carefully practiced Astrari, the liquid syllables flowing more easily after months of dedicated study. He promised to honor her culture, to continue learning her ways, and to journey with her through whatever challenges they might face. Thalia responded in English, her accent giving the familiar words a musical quality that moved many of the human delegates to tears. She spoke of bridges between worlds, of harmonies yet undiscovered, and of the miracle of finding connection across the void of space. As the ceremony progressed to its culmination, they placed their palms together, a gesture that bridged both cultures. The resonance between them built until the entire chamber seemed to hum with energy. "Now comes the binding," Vexor announced. "Traditionally, Astrari pairs would form a permanent neurological connection. For this unique union, we have adapted our ways." Marcus and Thalia had spent months working with scientists from both species to modify the traditional binding. Instead of a permanent mental link, they would share a resonance bond, a connection that would allow them to sense each other's presence and general emotional state across distances. As Vexor guided them through the ritual, Marcus felt the familiar warmth of Thalia's energy intensify. When they pressed their foreheads together, completing the circuit, a wave of sensation washed through him. Not intrusive thoughts, but a profound awareness of her presence, as tangible as touch. "I feel you," he whispered in wonder. "And I you," she replied, her skin pulsing with joy. "Always." When they exchanged the rings Patel had provided, adding a human tradition to the ceremony, the assembled delegates erupted in applause and trilling sounds of Astrari approval. "By the authority of both our worlds," Vexor concluded, "I pronounce this binding complete and celebrated. May your navigation together inspire generations to come." The reception that followed blended traditions from both cultures. Human music played alongside Astrari harmonic resonators. Earth foods were served with Astrari delicacies. Diplomats, scientists, and crew members from both species mingled with growing ease. Marcus and Thalia found a moment of privacy on an observation deck overlooking Earth below and the vast starfield beyond. "So," Marcus said, taking her hand, "where do we go from here? Earth, your homeworld, the diplomatic circuit." Thalia's skin shimmered with mischievous patterns. "I have news," she said. "The Council has approved our joint proposal." Marcus's eyes widened. "They're giving us a ship." "The first joint human Astrari deep exploration vessel," she confirmed. "With us as its command team, they feel our unique perspective might be valuable on the frontier." He laughed, pulling her into an embrace. "From an accidental engagement to charting the unknown together, not exactly what I planned when I gave you that bracelet." "Plans are overrated," Thalia murmured against his chest. "I prefer navigation by instinct." As they stood together at the viewport, Earth glowing blue below them, stars beckoning above, Marcus marveled at how a simple gift had altered the course of two civilizations, and his heart. "To finding our way forward," he whispered, echoing the words that had started their journey. Thalia's skin pulsed with patterns of love and adventure as she completed what had become their private ritual. "To navigation, my beloved, always to navigation." And as their lips met, the resonance between them sang with the promise of stars yet unexplored and discoveries waiting to be made, together.